just a couple of comments, and I think the project absolutely looks stunning. I can't wait to see it open. This is my first time on this side of the dais when you're doing a presentation. A little bit out of left field for this. I do think the city should be looking at alternative sites for the Maryland statute and for the Luminaire, and not necessarily that I'm opposed or to where they're being identified now, but I think there could be some other alternatives within the city that might open up greater flexibility in terms of how you use the space that we have now. And I would welcome seeing designs that take advantage of some of that flexibility as to what might that create.
And at this point, based on the feedback from the subcommittee, the intention has been to make sure that if either of those don't end up in the park, that it is a place that's flexible and has other great public art and community engagement opportunities.
Great. Now, is the area under where the Luminaire house is going to be, will that need some reinforcement?
It's a good question. What do you guys think?
The preliminary engineering that our structural engineer undertook for that suggests yes. So there would be some reinforcement of the parking structure required and some new beams created between the existing that the Luminaire would sit on. But that was just a very quick look, primarily to establish some cost basis, and that information was then shared with the Luminaire team. So we coordinated with them on making sure that the park could receive it in a good location, and it would have the right visibility and access to it, but also, how would it sit on that site?
And just to segue from what Councilmember Middleton said about other alternative locations, has the subcommittee thought about perhaps the Luminaire house might be, rather than having to do all that reinforcement, have you looked at perhaps a corner of the lot where the Architecture and Design Museum is located as a place to put that? When I've thought about that and drove over and looked, it would also provide more security at night because it's got gates and it's the parking lot there.
So the direction that the subcommittee gave to you is to move forward on the downtown park alone and then leave aside the issues of the Luminaire house, because we don't know where that private group is on fundraising, especially with the increased costs that it would take to reinforce below. And so we had asked city staff, and I think they're still working on bringing forward a presentation from the Luminaire house group to learn about where they are. But what we wanted to do is just push forward on this park, on that block that you see. But we'll take that direction, and when we do have that conversation with that group, we can talk about that.
Director Fag was, I guess, researching or trying to connect with the group that's bringing the Luminaire house, and I'm really glad the topic of reinforcement came up, because that's going to have to be an added cost to that group if we have to do that, and that could be a substantial cost. So I don't know if you were able to connect with them yet, Flynn, but the sooner the better.
Yeah, we'll have additional comments and talks with them.